NASA controls that one. And the fourth fighting room is 3 quarters away there, and it is currently active. And SpaceX controls that one. Launch Control is a 4-story building. The Vehicle Assembly Building is a 1-story building. And the blue building that you see straight ahead of us, that is Boeing. And that is a picture of the Starliner.
7 years after he spoke these ambitious words, the world watched as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first people to walk on the moon. The achievements of the men and women who worked on the space program in these early decades of NASA helped propel the technologies we use every day. NASA and the thriving private space industry at Kennedy Space Center today are the living legacy of their story. As we arrive at the Apollo Saturn V Center to learn more about that historic era, get ready to step back into a time when NASA had everything to prove to a nation focused on one goal: to be the first country to land a person on the moon.
Laying right there, ladies and gentlemen. Look back on the island right there. You can stand up if you need to. You can stand up.
Well, Kennedy Space Center is big and we have a lot of employees. It's like a city. We have lots of roads, we have lots of buildings, and so there's lots of maintenance and construction. So anything that might impact the habitat or wildlife, we have to go out and we check it out. And we work with the project managers to make sure that animals aren't harmed. Gopher tortoises are notorious for this. They go places where they shouldn't be, and sometimes we have to move them. We also support launches. We do a lot of research.
You can see Mom or Dad right here real good when we pass by. Look right up there at the white head, no? Right there. We are passing by the Atlantis building. Atlantis is home to the Space Shuttle Atlantis exhibit. And this is also the building where they have the total launch simulator, to where you, your family, and friends can all hop on together and experience as an astronaut exactly what it's like during a launch. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please remain seated till I let you know that it is safe to exit the bus, and look in your seats and gather all of your belongings. And I'd really look for those cell phones. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I have had a great time with you. Thank you for coming today, and I do want you to have a great rest of your day. And once again, my name is Dale.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rufus, and on behalf of NASA, we welcome you all aboard. And I will be your host through your Apollo Saturn V Center. So we're going to be on the bus about 15 minutes or so. We're going to play you a couple of videos to tell you a little more about the Kennedy Space Center. Along the way, we're going to pass the Vehicle Assembly Building. And this is Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge that we're on here. So if you keep your eyes open, especially along the waterways, we just might see an alligator or two. So enjoy your journey to the Apollo Saturn V Center. Thank you.
Ignition sequence start. Countdown, step off the land now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We have pondered our our place amongst the stars since the dawn of humankind. We've looked at the stars with wonder and amazement, their glow guiding our travel for centuries. The more we learn about our universe, the more questions we have.
I'm Emily Calandrelli, and today you'll be following me behind the gates on this exclusive bus tour of Kennedy Space Center. Our journey will take us past active facilities and end at the visitor complex's own Apollo Saturn V sector.
But before we begin this journey, just like every NASA mission, our #1 goal is to return home safely. So always stay seated while the bus is in motion. Please, no food or drinks on the bus with the exception of water. Please keep conversation to a minimum so others may hear and enjoy the tour. No photography is permitted at the security gates, but there will be plenty of photo opportunities during the tour.
No, be on that journey.
The KSC's badging station is the Mercury Redstone rocket. It represents NASA's earliest efforts to send humans into space. These Redstone rockets were formerly ballistic missiles provided to NASA by the U.S. Army. In October of 1958, NASA formally organized Project Mercury with a mission to investigate man's reaction to this new environment and safely recover the capsule and its pilot. Man rating for human spaceflight on what was previously a ballistic missile was no easy task. After several modifications and test flights, a Mercury capsule carrying Ham, a chimpanzee, was successfully launched and recovered on January 31st, 1961. Just months later, on May 5th, astronaut Alan Shepard launched on a Mercury Redstone rocket, becoming the first American in space.
Hi, I'm Janet Petro, and welcome to NASA's John F. Kennedy Space Center, where NASA astronauts have ventured forth on flights of exploration since the 1960s. And what an exciting time to visit our multi-user spaceport. Through our Commercial Crew program, we are sending astronauts to the International Space Station from American soil for the first time since the Space Shuttle program ended in 2011. We're continuing to launch new research experiments and supplies to the space station with our commercial resupply services and launching the most technologically advanced scientific instruments to date into space through our Launch Services program. This all culminates in our ultimate mission, the Artemis program, where NASA will return to the moon, this time with the first woman and first person of color, and continue on to Mars. In all our history, there's been one common theme woven throughout our DNA. It's our insatiable desire to explore beyond our home planet in our never-ending quest to expand our knowledge of the universe. As you venture behind the gates, you'll find a community of the most talented, dedicated, motivated workforce anywhere in the world who believe in the unlimited potential of space exploration. This is an active spaceport where new things are happening every day. You never know what you might see, so enjoy your tour.
You are now approaching the vehicle assembly, or as NASA calls it, the VAB. It is one of the largest buildings in the world by volume, and is the place where NASA completes the final assembly of its rockets before launch. The sheer scale of this building is hard to grasp, even when you're right next to it.
Do you ever feel really small when you think about space? What about when you're standing next to a skyscraper or a really big bridge? Well, I feel about as small as an ant right now. I'm standing inside the vehicle assembly building trying to grasp how large it really is in here. It has 4 bays. Each bay has 2 large horizontal doors below it and 7 smaller vertically opening doors above it, tall enough to fit the world's largest rocket room. In fact, these are the largest doors in the world.
Construction of the VAB required 65,000 cubic yards of concrete, 45,000 steel beams, 1 million steel bolts, amounting to almost 100 tons of steel. Notice the flag painted on the outside of the VAB? It's the size of a 21-story building. The blue section alone is the size of an NBA basketball court. Each star is 6 feet across, and each red and white stripe is wide enough for this bus to drive down. And the entire VAB? It's so huge that the Roman Colosseum would fit on the roof with room to spare for a parking lot. By volume, the VAB can fit 3.5 Empire State Buildings, and it would take 250 billion ping pong balls to fill it.
It also would take 490 million basketballs to fill it. Just talked about the flag, give you an idea how big that flag is. That flag is wide as this northbound traffic, and the other lane over there is the southbound traffic. That's how big that flag is there.
It was built in the 1960s for the Apollo program. Every Saturn V rocket that sent humans to the moon was assembled right here. Every space shuttle mission also assembled within these same walls. After the space shuttle program, a major renovation to the inside of this building began to accommodate NASA's next generation of rockets, the Space Launch System, or SLS. Lockheed Martin has developed a capsule called Orion that will sit atop the SLS rocket. This capsule is designed to facilitate human exploration of the moon and eventually Mars.
Okay, before we watch our next video, we'll give you a little more nibbits about the vehicle assembly building. It talks about the doors, the largest doors in the world. But it takes those doors 45 minutes to open and to close completely. And when they all open, they all stack up top of one another. And again, the flag, but that flag is the world's largest hand-painted flag in the world. With the NASA logo that you see out here at the Kennedy Space Center, they call that the meatball. This is the industrial area that we're in here. And just down the road there to your right, there's our press site where the news media come from all over the world there. And there's an American flag down there. Just below that American flag is a fairly new countdown clock. And the old countdown clock is at the visitor center where you guys entered in at. And this building over to the left that is adjacent with the VAB there, that is the back side of launch control. Launch control has 4 firing rooms. And the first firing room is the closest to the VAB, and it is currently active, and NASA controls that one. And the 4th firing room is the farthest away there, and it is currently active, and SpaceX controls that one. Launch control is a 4-story building. The vehicle assembly building is a 1-story building. And the blue building that you see straight ahead of us, that is Boeing. And that is a picture of the Starliner. So our next video is going to talk about our crawlers. That we have 2 crawlers that was ever made. NASA owned both of those crawlers. Those crawlers were shipped here in sections, and they were assembled on site. When we get in the area where the crawlers are located, I will slow down a little bit. I will point them out to you. They'll be on your right-hand side, that you'll be able to get a better look at our crawlers.
NASA is known for dreaming big, and big dreams require big equipment. I'm standing next to the Crawler Transporter, the largest self-powered land vehicle in the world. It was originally built in 1965 for the Apollo program, and has since been updated to accommodate the space shuttle and now NASA's SLS rocket. Weighing in at 6 million pounds and capable of lifting and hauling 18 million pounds, the Crawler is an engineering marvel, even without a rocket sitting on top of it. This thing has 2,750 horsepower, V16 diesel engines that can carry the crawler up to a top speed of, wait for it, 1 mile per hour while carrying a rocket.
It so happened that crawler get 32 feet per gallon. That's over 150 gallons per mile. Now if you look over to the right, directly behind this building with the green pipe, sits one of our crawlers there in the surface area. And right across from it is the other crawler. So at this time we have both crawlers that was ever made sitting in the surface area now. So each one of those tracks on the crawler weighs a ton.
Keep an eye out for the crawler as we approach this area. And remember, we are visiting a working spaceport. So while the crawler may not stay in one area for very long, it's bound to be out here somewhere. Now, let me introduce you to my friend, John Giles, the crawler project manager.
I'm standing in front of crawler transporter number 2 at the Kennedy Space Center. Crawler transporter number 2 will be used for the SLS program to take the launch vehicle back and forth to the pad. We will begin by going underneath the mobile launcher. We'll pick it up, we'll take it over to the VAB. They'll then assemble the launch vehicle on top of the mobile launcher, and then we'll come back to the VAB. We'll slide underneath it again, we'll pick it up, we'll take it out to the pad. The trip of about 4.2 miles. It'll take us about 7 hours to get there. But during our trip to the launch pad, we'll roll over a specially prepared crawler weight that consists of anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of special rock. Below that is limestone that's about 4 feet thick and compressed to hold the weight of the crawler and the mobile launcher. And then below that is some hydraulically compacted sand that can support all the weight. And then once we're there, we'll drop it all off. And then a few days later, there'll be a launch. We'll come back, we'll pick the mobile launcher up, and we'll bring it back to the VAB to start the process all over again.
With 50 years and some 3,000 kilometers or 2,000 miles on the clock, NASA expects the crawlers to be in operation for at least another 3 decades. How cool is that? The latest refurbishment is complete, and preparation is well underway for the first SLS mission. The crawler will be doing what it was originally designed to do once again, which is moving rockets.
I like the idea of there's like 2 crawlers.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
When President John F. Kennedy made this speech in 1962, he set in motion an era of discovery that would change humankind forever. 7 years after he spoke these ambitious words, the world watched as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first people to walk on the moon. The achievements of the men and women who worked on the space program in these early decades of NASA helped propel the technology we use every day. NASA and the thriving private space industry at Kennedy Space Center today are the living legacy of their story. As we arrive at the Apollo Saturn V Center to learn more about that historic era, get ready to step back into a time when NASA had everything to prove to a nation focused on one goal: to be the first country to land a person on the moon.
Is that right?
Hello everyone, on behalf of NASA, my name is Dale. I'll be your tour escort all the way back to where you began today at the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. Our travel time is going to be around 15 minutes, as long as nothing gets in our way. And that does happen out here quite a bit. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to watch some videos on the way back. And one of those videos is going to talk about the American bald eagle's nest. Our American bald eagles comes here every year to have their little eaglets. They've had their babies, and those babies have gotten big. Those babies are starting to come out of the nest and walk around a little bit, discovering their wings. So you just be sure to watch the videos. That way when I point them out to you, you'll know what to look for.
Kennedy Space Center is surrounded by the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. While the refuge in total takes up 140,000 acres, NASA only occupies about 7,000 acres. Other than the few launch pads and facilities you see spotted across the horizon, this area remains a refuge for 150,000 species of plants and animals. I want to introduce you to Becky Bolt, who has been a NASA wildlife ecologist here at KSC.
Laying right there, ladies and gentlemen. Look back on the island right there. You can stand up if you need to. You can stand up.
Where is it?
On the grass.
No, man, I have buzzards and ducks, I think.
Wow. Told you there was real life ones, didn't I?
I didn't know if he was going to be there or not because it's been cold. And they stay in the water when it's cold, but well, I say he, it could be she. I ain't gonna get close enough to find out.
For nearly 35 years. Becky, what kind of wildlife can we expect to see here today?
We have lots and lots of different kinds of wildlife. We have over 400 species that occur out here on the Space Center. Look in the ditches and you'll see lots of wading birds, tall herons, egrets, ibises. There's several species of those, and I can pretty much guarantee you're going to see some of those. We have bobcats, raccoons, all kinds of animals.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't get to see the crawler transporters good when you came by, if you look over to the left, there they both are. Crawler 1 is on the right and crawler 2 is on the left. You know, if you take those and set them on a baseball infield, one of them will cover the whole infield. And their fuel mileage is amazing. They have diesel engines that power electric engines, so they're like hybrids. They actually get a whopping 32 feet a gallon.
Now, what is your role as a wildlife ecologist?
One of the main things we do is support operations. So people always think, oh, that's launch. Well, Kennedy Space Center is big and we have a lot of employees. It's like a city. We have lots of roads, we have lots of buildings, and so there's lots of maintenance and construction. So anything that might impact the habitat or wildlife, we have to go out and we check it out. And we work with the project managers to make sure that animals aren't harmed. Gopher tortoises are notorious for this. They go places where they shouldn't be, and sometimes we have to move them. We also support launches. We do a lot of research because we help the land managers, which on Kennedy Space Center, the land managers are the Fish and Wildlife Service, because this is a wildlife refuge. We have federally listed scrub jays and federally listed beach mice. There's probably some watching us right now. And so we provide that data to them so they know how to manage the land in the best way.
What are some of the more recent projects you've worked on here?
The most exciting new project that we have, and it's not really new, it started in 2010, but it's been ongoing since then, is our Created Dune project. We were having problems with when there are bad storms, hurricanes, which we get a fair amount. It was destroying our primary dune here, and we were getting washover that was getting closer and closer to facilities. We created dunes and took lots of sand and spread it out and piled it up and planted it with native vegetation.
Oh yeah, because you can see there's a launch pad right here, the ocean's right there. And the dune is protecting it.
Right.
Well, Becky, thank you so much for teaching us how nature meets technology here at KSC, and hopefully our guests on our tour will see some of this wildlife today.
For more than 20 years, a pine tree along the Kennedy Parkway has been home to the largest eagle's nest on Kennedy Space Center. Eagles have long been a symbol at NASA for human spaceflight, including the famous Apollo 11 mission. Weighing thousands of pounds and about the size of a king-size bed, the eagles continue to return to this nest to raise their eaglets year after year. The eagles arrive to the nest in late August, hatch their eaglets around December, and remain there until they migrate north again in the spring. After all these years, it may not be surprising that the tree containing the nest has been damaged by natural forces, impacted by wildfires, hurricanes, wind-borne salt spray, and even a pine bark beetle attack. The tree's overall health has declined. Eagles are very resilient, and all signs indicate that in the event our resident eagles leave the tree, they'll usually rebuild to the next closest optimal nesting spot. And there are plenty of options for them here at the Kennedy Space Center.
And that's just what they did, ladies and gentlemen. The nest did get destroyed, but our eagles came out toward us about 50 to 75 yards out here by the road, and built right by the road in this tallest pine tree. 3/4 of the way up the pine tree, there's a dark brown mass in between the branches and foliage, and there's Mom or Dad up in the tree there. Mom or Dad's up in the tree looking down. You can see the baby's heads a little bit up in the nest there, but there's Mom or Dad up there in the top. Mom or Dad has a white head and white tail. The babies have not changed color yet. You can see Mom or Dad right here real good when we pass by. Look right up there at the white head. No? Right there. The other day, Mom or Dad 1 came and just flew right by the bus. They'll be there until around the end of March. The babies will come out. They start discovering their wings. They do a little trial flights. We get to see them do some of that. And then around the end of March, we'll come by and they'll be gone until next year. Y'all just got the greatest tour driver. Did I say that? And if you look over to the right, ladies and gentlemen, the buildings that you see through the tree line, they are called Hangar X2. They belong to Elon Musk, and that is SpaceX.
For the reason, it takes dreamers, thinkers, and adventurers to push the boundaries of human space exploration. But no matter how far we explore beyond our world, the journey ultimately starts right here, in the imagination of our youth. It is so important to support STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, focused education curricula to foster that next generation of rocket scientists, physicists, chemists, and of course, astronauts. These core building blocks form the foundation of the incredible achievements of NASA. The astronaut training experience here at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex works with some of these bright children who may one day be the people who walk across the gantry into a capsule on their way to Mars.
My favorite thing about space is how we know so much, but then there's so much we can learn about it because of how big and endless it is.
What I love about the ATX Center is the microgravity simulator. That was really fun because it felt like you were fixing the ISS in like zero gravity.
My favorite thing here at the Visitor Complex, if I had to choose, would be the shuttle launch simulator because it's so awesome to feel what the astronauts will feel like when they take off.
More than 60 years of innately curious and wildly ambitious space pioneers have led us to countless new discoveries and modern conveniences we enjoy today. Literally thousands of items can trace their roots back to NASA, from smoke detectors and memory foam mattresses to life-saving medical equipment. It's amazing how the work being done to take us thousands of miles into space is also making life better right here on Earth. Of all the benefits of modern technology, perhaps none are more powerful than our ability to connect with another person anywhere, instantly. To pick up a cell phone and call a loved one many thousands of miles away. To instantly share a photo with our network of friends. To collaborate and share information with like-minded people to create something great together. In a way, the modern communications technologies are making Earth feel like a smaller place. And while they are bringing us closer together, they are also enabling us to look further beyond our horizons. The journey starts here. By going behind the gates at Kennedy Space Center today, we each took our own small steps toward the future of space exploration by learning and being inspired by the incredible achievements of NASA.
of people ask about the solar fields. We have 2 of the largest solar fields in Florida. We have 250,000 solar panels. We can produce enough electricity for 15,000 homes. And of course our alligators, yes, you did get to see one today. And we have an estimated 4,000 to 6,000 alligators here. I say estimated because every 6 months we send someone out to count, but they will never come back. Now that part was a joke and you're not allowed to repeat it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If you had a good time today, please go on our Kennedy Space Center website to our page and leave us a great review. Let us know how you enjoyed it. Tell us about your time here and what we can do to better ourselves. That helps us out. And if you leave a good review, my name's Dale. If you leave a bad review, my name's Robert. We are passing by the Atlantis building. Atlantis is home to the Space Shuttle Atlantis exhibit. And this is also the building where they have the total launch simulator, to where you, your family, and friends can all hop on together and experience as an astronaut exactly what it's like during a launch. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please remain seated till I let you know that it is safe to exit the bus, and look in your seats and gather all of your belongings. And I'd really look for those cell phones. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I have had a great time with you. Thank you for coming today, and I do want you to have a great rest of your day. And once again, my name is Dale.